about their pro-life points. And so that's right here. And I get people talking to me because whatever. Anyway, people are talking to me. So from Milwaukee, the GOP leadership is dismissing concerns from evangelical Christians about the party platform. If you don't know, what they're thinking about doing is following Trump in the understanding of abortion and IVF and all that other crap that as a pro-life person, you're not able to actually support. Okay. And they believe Christians will vote GOP even if pro-life language is stripped from the platform. One evangelical leader was told, "Where else will your people go?" Okay, so obviously this is a problem. Okay, now we're into like politics properly here in relation to the faith. Obviously, this is a problem because now we have one party that's just crazy, like literally crazy, promoting things and looking at reality as if it's a fantasy, okay? And promoting with it a culture of death. It is heartbreaking. I know several people who have gone down that path, unfortunately, and I've tried to get them out of it. I've tried to convince them out of it. I've tried to help their families get out of it. It's sad. I live in Michigan, and we're a blue state. We're not really a purple state anymore. We're a blue state, and unfortunately, we have a lot of people who have succumbed to that mentality. But the and I'm not just saying Democrats. I'm saying the rainbow issue. Okay, like if sorry, I don't mean to be so direct about it, but it you know, that is not what reality is. And so promoting that, it's like, of course, the GOP now is taking a strategic route because it is not based on God. Like the GOP is not based on God. Okay. It is a secular force within politics. They may have it as part of their platform, but it is not based on God. And here's evidence for it. What they're trying to do is get votes to have power. And so this is a very dangerous thing because we are now stuck between two things. We're like a rock and a hard place. Like we have crazy on one side and we have negligent, power-hungry politicians on the other. They're both power-hungry. Okay, like let's not like pretend that that's not an equal thing. But negligent is like the key word here when it comes to politicians. And I saw Marco Rubio push this. And that, like, honestly, today scandalized me because I had voted for Marco Rubio for presidential candidate in 2016. And, you know, he was running as the Catholic guy from Florida. And now he's like saying like we should be open to this. Like that is ridiculous. That is it is unreasonable because what they're doing is they're saying to you and me who are pro-life, deal with it. What are you going to do about it? And I've got to give props to Father Joe Krupp. He was the priest at our wedding. He is also on Twitter if you haven't seen him. And he points this out all the time. And that like politicians from the Republican and Democrats will use whatever issues to, you know, use. And so we're in, you know, the pro-life issue just had a huge victory, right? Like we reversed Roe v. Wade. And what's the GOP doing? Like you take one step forward, remove Roe v. Wade, take two steps back, apply Roe v. Wade without Roe v. Wade. Like that is like that's just so stupid. And it's again, they've got us, you know, in terms of the pro-life point. Like for a lot of people, they're not going to be able to move away from the GOP because they're tied to the GOP. They want to be able to move and vote for another party, but institutionally, third parties are suppressed. Like that was the main focus of my undergrad was for those electives that I could was to look into third party infrastructure. And you'd be surprised at how many states prevent third parties from actualizing themselves without already having a base. They basically need to exist. You have for example, you have an election here. Let's make sure I'm on the camera. You have an election here. In order to get to the election that you want, they need to be in this election, or at least present from the free vote. And then this next vote, they'll be on the ballot. And that happens for like a ridiculous amount of states, to where you basically are always like put in a corner for voting for the two parties. Because again, they have so much institutional power with the laws that are in place. So yes, this is a really good point. Trump isn't going to save us. It's going to reset the racket for another 8 to 16 years if he wins. So by the point, obviously you should know Trump isn't going to save us. That's not, I would never promote such an idea. Okay. But obviously when you look at Biden and Trump and their platforms, Trump, between the two of them and just the two of them, Trump is very much on board more with reality than Biden. Okay. Biden literally has people he's appointed that think that they're in a fantasy and are promoting that fantasy to the rest of the public. That's a huge problem. But when it comes to the Trump, like, I mean, like, I don't understand how to, like, you could be okay with a pill literally designed to kill someone to be just sold. Like the abortion pill. I don't understand that. Because at the end of the day, like you're dealing with the end of a human life, and you're dealing, like, you're paying what? I don't even know how much. I don't know how much they are, but it's just like you're not paying that much. And then on top of that, you have the problem of you slip it into people's drinks or things, and then it leads to like a whole bunch of problems. Like I can reasonably see a situation where down the line, given how prolific the pro-life or the abortion pill is, that people will slip it into other people's drinks and food and stuff like that, because they think global warming's happening and they want less people. And they're effectively not, depending on the law, right? Because each law in each state, when it comes to murder, will or will not include the child in the womb, because it's a state thing now. And so depending on the state, like, that may be completely legal and you have no legal ramifications to making them pay for what they just did. Bad news, y'all. I told Mario he's not running. All right, so that's true. I'm 36, so I technically can run. Yeah, so now we're in this place where, what are we going to do? Because if, like, the Republican Party is already kind of flexing that they're not conservative, they're the party of Democrats from 20 years ago. All right, so I appreciate that. I'm glad I'm helping you. But this idea of like the Republicans, you've heard this, right? Like, oh, Republicans aren't conservative, they're just Democrats from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That's true. And now that the pro-life issue is becoming an issue, like a sincerely bad issue where both parties are just outright rejecting it, there's a legitimate problem it's going to be between two people who have abortion stances that are not what the pro-life movement wants. And we need to like come to terms with that. And we need to have a plan. And just like getting music in your parish, we need to have a plan to mobilize, to establish a party or to support a party that's already in existence, to really integrate. Like, this is a moment, like, this sucks, okay? This absolutely sucks. Because they're right. Where else will your people go? Well, you know what? Catholic Party. There are several types of Catholic parties in existence. We just need to actually, like, support them. For Catholics, like, it shouldn't be the Catholic Party. Like, that would be bad. The optics on that is not great. To establish a party that is fundamentally Catholic to its core, like, we need to do that. Why aren't we promoting Catholicism to the level that we should? Political action is required of us as part of our social teaching within the Catholic Church. If it's a democracy or a republic, we are bound to actualize our faith in a way that matches what the faith teaches. Now, that doesn't mean that we vote exactly the same. Okay, like that's not what that means. However, we're getting to a point where the parties are becoming so ridiculous and antithetical to our way of life and understanding that it's like, no, we probably should start something. Because, again, as this gentleman pointed out, where else will your people go? Because politically, I don't think how in long term, I can't see myself voting for a Republican if they have that platform in a reasonable sense, like down the road. Now, again, depending on which state you live in, there's a window and there's practical aspects to be taken to be involved. But the fact that they're doing this so close, again, I think it's part of strategy. They know they have the Democrats up against a corner, and what they want to do is they want to maximize the win. And so that's how they're doing this. They want to make sure this is a winning year. That is what they're doing, and that's why they're doing this. People need to learn philosophy as part of ordinary education, even objectively, to consider what it is for people to have a soul can change people's mind about things. Right. When I was on a school board, I actually advocated that, or not advocated, advocated that. Sorry, my mouth's getting a little dry. Because that objectively speaking, that is important. Like learning philosophy, learning morals under Aristotle and Plato in an environment that, I mean, like, again, you're talking about public school, and public school is being owned by a religion right now. The rainbow religion, which is, by the way, this will be a last thing. I would appreciate it if the bishops came out and stated how dangerous public schools are to the faith. Like, just objectively, like how dangerous it is for someone to be going through the public education system. We don't need to wait for studies. We don't need to wait for like the science to catch up on this. We can see it with our eyes now. We know what's happening. The schools by me teach some like the public schools by me teach some ridiculously filthy things to fourth graders. I'm not going to say them because I would probably get removed if I did, but to fourth graders. And like politically, like that's not okay. So as tough as, hey Mark, as tough as fertility issues are, I'm glad I don't have kids who would be exposed to that stuff. Oh my gosh. My oldest is about to be 11. My youngest is 3 months. Yeah, so this is something I'm going to be paying attention a lot. Like what floors me, so this will be like the last thing I get into because this was brought up in chat. And, if things are brought up in chat, I tend to respond to them because that's the whole point of this dynamic. It floors me how many people who don't have kids have no understanding of how bad it is. Like there are other kids, like there was there have been several family friends and friends that I have talked to that have no kids. And I'll be talking to them about this and they'll be like, oh, it's not that bad. And I'm like, no, it absolutely is. And then I'll talk about the disgusting stuff that's happening right next door, like in our public schools. And I'll talk about other things. And I'll be like, this is what's promoted to fourth graders now. This is nothing like you and me had to deal with because I didn't have to deal with any of this crap. I'm 36. Like 18 years ago, I didn't have to deal with this. Like the closest thing I had was like there was a few gay guys in the school. Like that was it. We didn't even have pride flags. Like that wasn't a thing then, or in the sense of it being in school. So like 18 years ago, and I'll just remind everybody because this seems to be missing on a lot of people. It hasn't been 10 years since legally the redefinition of marriage happened, and yet we're at this state because, again, the slippery slope is very real. It's not a logical fallacy when you can connect the dots. And so, obviously, if you can't connect the dots, slippery slope is a fallacy. But it's one of those things; it can quite literally go either way. So, so that goes back to philosophy, right? Like what was suggested earlier. So, and again, if you can look at supporting this family that a family friend who lost their oldest son and his family, for funeral expenses, that would be greatly appreciated. It is out of state, and we know the person. Like, I personally know the person who is organizing this fundraiser. So if you can support them, that would be great and much appreciated. If you're not able to, prayers would also be good. So all of that would be helpful. All right, so I'm going to get off because it's been an hour and a half, and I appreciate everyone who's been watching. I appreciate everyone who's been engaged in chat. It's always fun to go back and forth in chat, and you bring up very different perspectives. And that's one of the reasons why I have chat on, is because I'm only one man. And I want different perspectives. I want to be challenged, and I want to address certain things that I don't think of. So I appreciate you guys in chat and responding. And yes, so thank you for watching this Monday, and I hope the rest of your week goes well. On Friday, I will probably move the live stream to 9 p.m. because it does seem that at 9 p.m. more people are just on. Again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, and enjoy the rest of your day.